Hey, here we are. You know what I think we ought to do? I think we ought to start a podcast. Let's play some music. You found us. Welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the only podcast from the birthplace of geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about caches and cachers from here and around the globe. So while you're busy tossing your neighbor's leaves back over on his side of the fence, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. And that means it's time to bring in our goofy, is it gelada or gelada? See, here I'm up of my primates.
I don't know. It's a type of monkey, though. Google says so.
Okay. Some say he's the next best thing to being alone. And others say, just like the Vatican, he's famous for his mass. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hey, is that a fat joke? What the heck?
Hey, mass and weight are two different things.
All right. Hey, it is great to be back. I am loving the fact that this is a couple episodes in a row now that we've had the whole cast. This is awesome. I know. This is and of course we also have Keats94 joining us. Keats, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back on.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And I also want to throw out our usual quick reminder right off the start of the podcast that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. And if you want to know who a patron is, wait till the end of the show and I will try and say them all in one breath.
Hold your breath now.
Oh, that might not end well.
You won't make it to the end of the show.
Oh.
Hey, our thoughts and prayers go with those who are in the path of Hurricane Michael there in the southeast. It's been a devastating storm, and so we're thinking about you all. Now, each and every week, we like to talk about the GLOW or the geocaching log of the week. Whether you wrote it or whether you read it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. Send an email to feedback@cachingnw.com. Call in to 253-693-TFTC. That's 8382 if you're playing on the game at home, or use the voicemail tool on the website and show us how you glow.
That's right. And we love the glows, as he said. And this week's glow demonstrates it doesn't have to be a found log. This is a DNF log that made the glow this week. It came from, who sent this in?
Harvey's Pack.
It's Harvey's Pack. It's not always the person that wrote the log is the one that sent the log in.
Oh,
so
sure.
Just looking to see if there was a different contributor. But Harvey's Pack couldn't find traditional cache Xenopus xanthic X-rays Zigua.
That's why we gave this one to you.
The log is an exhortative account of our visit to Ground Zero. We have a travel bug that is on a mission to visit X caches. So we drove down from Olympia to drop it in this cache. Never happened. Why? Not because we couldn't find the cache, but because we accidentally excited a nest of yellow jackets while attempting to execute the find. Needless to say, those guys were extremely exasperated with us. We exited the area as quickly as possible, but it was too late to escape. My husband was lucky and only got stung once while trying to remove the wasps that were stinging our dog, Harvey. The same can't be said for Harvey and myself. We each sustained at least 20 stings. Luckily, we carry Benadryl. The ordeal must have been a sight to see for the passersby on the highway. I had stripped down to my underwear in an attempt to lessen the attack on myself, and my husband was removing wasps and stingers from Harvey's tender bits. Poor guy hurt so bad he couldn't even sit down during our journey back home. We have made it home safely and we'll be resting for the remainder of the day. We'll be back when the wasps are wintering. Until then, we recommend treading lightly near ground zero. Another adventure in the books.
Oh my goodness, 20 stings.
Yeah, that was
Each.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
they're ruthless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And the poor dog's tender bits.
Yeah.
Ah, felt bad.
Probably the kibbles too.
Yeah.
Now, was it the dog that couldn't sit down the rest of the way home, or was it her husband? I don't know which.
Yeah. Poor guy. Yeah. One of the two.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's gotta
Oh.
hurt.
I've reached into the end of a guardrail and got stung with one wasp, and I said, "That's it. I'm done for the day."
Yeah.
It just made me
Gotta
angry.
watch those darn guardrail caches. You got to always check first. You gotta look
Yeah.
first before you stick your hand in there. 'Cause so often I have found wasp nests in guardrails.
Hmm.
I have this deep fear of, well, I mean, it used to be a deep fear of wasps because twice when I went to Minnetonka Provincial or Regional Park and just around Port Coquitlam area, I stepped in 2 wasp nests. So I associate Minnetonka Regional Park for wasps, and it not fun. It's like they're like a tornado of yellow when you disturb their nest. So.
Wow. So
Yeah.
for you, the entire park is just overrun with wasps.
Well, I mean, yeah, it happened a long time ago, but I still associate that park with those evil yellow jackets. I tell you. So
Yeah, there's nothing good about them. I don't know.
No.
I guess they're in the food chain there somewhere. They serve a purpose of some sort, but mostly I think the purpose they serve is fodder for flamethrowers. But
Yeah. I have yet to find
Ooh.
that useful purpose. The easy way to get around him, though, when you're caching, is just cache with Chris and send him in first.
there you go. That
Yeah.
seems like that works.
It worked for me.
Hey. Yeah, but I don't like that. Land Monkey, when we were out at GeoCoin Fest, there was a guardrail cache, and I looked in, and sure enough, there was a, I don't know, bee or wasp nest. I didn't care. I saw honeycomb shapes, and I said, "Nope, it's not in there."
Honeycomb. Yeah.
Not those kind of honeycombs. Jim.
Oh, now I'm hungry.
GSM times 2 says I got 26 stingers one time.
Ugh.
Not good.
Ugh.
That is not good.
To
That's
which Avro says wasps. They need to
Yes.
die.
Yes.
precisely.
I mean, they don't pollinate anything, right? Like they're not like bees.
I
So-
think they eat like rotting meat and things like that. I think they're a
Flies
staff.
do that too.
There's lots of other insects that do that. I don't think we need wasps. I think we're
No.
good without them.
Oh, hey, I mentioned GeoCoin Fest, and we got an email from Tick Magnet, who we met at one or several of the GeoCoin Fest events.
Yeah, we did. That was
Does-
cool.
Hi, Caching in the Northwest crew. I made it home for my adventure to the Northwest, which is always good, by the way, to make it home from an adventure in the Northwest. Big highlight for me was getting to meet Chris of the Northwest and the Land Monkeys. What great guys. Thanks so much for sharing your time and hospitality. I really appreciate the fun conversations and count you among my Geo friends. Thanks. I was amazed to hear how much time and work goes into your weekly podcast. I can't thank you enough for all you do for our sport. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. It is nice to be appreciated for our efforts, and he's right. There is a lot of work that goes into putting this on every week, but we wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it, and we hope you guys enjoy it, and that's why we do it.
Mhm.
Exactly. And, it's always nice to meet somebody, that you've seen or heard over the internet or just talked to through chat, to meet them in person. So
Yes, absolutely. And that's, for all you guys who are watching this live, hi. and,
hi.
Hello.
and it is neat because I think we've talked about this before. It's kind of a one-way relationship when you're doing the podcast. I mean, we talk with each other here and we're interacting, and we try and interact with the chat the best we can. But when we get the opportunity at an event to actually meet you guys and meet you face to face and talk with you, it's really rewarding for us because then we get a lot more interaction with you than we would normally get. So it's if you're at an event and we're there, find us. We'd love to say hi.
Yeah, love to meet you, love to chat, and please take pity on me and come up and introduce yourself because I often don't recognize your face based on the name in the chat.
Yeah. Somehow those don't connect for you.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I don't know. He didn't look like a tick magnet. No, fair enough. So yeah, that was great. And it was awesome to meet Tick Magnet. We met, oh my goodness, we won't go into it right now, but maybe we'll talk about it in the after show. We met so many people at GeoCoin Fest. It was great. I had a great time. All right. But speaking of the after show, just as a reminder to everybody, if you want to discuss something in the after show, remember to use the hashtag FTAS or FTAS. We will then that'll be the flag to make sure that gets picked up and dropped into the after show. And Brian's got that mentioned in there as well. Thank you. So that will be our way to know that it's something to talk about. And I'm just going to throw one more thing out for the after show. Here's my hashtag FTAS. I want to talk about what Wits End did last weekend in the after show. So there's my hashtag FTAS.
Oh, there you go. Well,
looking forward to it.
That is the appropriate time because the after show is for all topics not related to tonight's topic. And tonight's topic is hiking mountains for geocaches. And we have a special guest, returning guest. Yes, he's been on the podcast before and came back. He's listed as a Caching in Northwest special correspondent. So, Keats94, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fantastic to be back on this excellent podcast. It's thank you so much for having me on.
It is an excellent podcast. Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm just pointing out the obvious, folks.
No, it's awesome, and
it's factual.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, Keats, and we're really looking forward to talking about this topic, and we are recognizing your expertise in the area, mostly because we see lots of great pictures on Facebook and Instagram of you finding these geocaches in some pretty remote areas. So maybe you can start off by telling us about some of the places that you've been hiking this summer and fall.
Well, okay, yeah. Where do I begin? Let's start with probably late August. It was an absolute privilege to see some amazing places, primarily in British Columbia, in the last month or two. But I took an amazing hashtag geocache road trip to Lillooet, BC. And it's located about 110 kilometers north of Whistler. And so that's kind of the general area of where it is. What's really cool with going between Whistler and Lillooet is that you get to see the landscape change. From where Whistler is, you'll see towering mountains, going way above the tree line, and then all of us, and with thick, big, evergreen trees, and then all of a sudden, when you go, a little bit through north of Joffrey Lakes, kind of halfway between Whistler and Lillooet, you start to see the landscape change, and you kind of see kind of a semi-arid desert-like climate, which is actually part of quite a large area in the interior of BC. There are some excellent geocaches in Lillooet, including some Gold Country caches, part of the Gold Country Geo Tour. And it's a really excellent place. There aren't that many directly in the town, but when you go out further, when you go out into on steeper terrain, that's where you'll see a lot of them. And excellent history, amazing facts about it. And also, actually, Lamech, I was going to mention that there is an earth cache actually in downtown Lillooet, and it talks about BC jade. The GC code for this one is GC14 Alpha X-ray 0. I made sure I put my military codes in there because I'm not quite rehearsed yet on that.
You can put
skill.
a cheat sheet at the bottom of your computer wallpaper.
Exactly.
I've done that earth cache. It's a neat one. I like
it. It is. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a very simple one, but it really shows what's great about that part of the province.
Well, so I'm just going to talk about that earth cache just for a moment. But some stuff when you're doing that earth cache, you're right. It's a fairly simple one. you see a few things that you don't normally see at that scale.
Yeah.
So
it's fascinating. It's so cool seeing those slices of jade, and they're so vividly green. So very, very cool. And yeah, I mean, Lillooet's slogan is guaranteed rugged, and they captured that so well because the mountains are so sheer and so interesting. They have so much color to them. They've got amazing granite faces, and you can actually see kind of the layers. Almost they're kind of like, I don't know what you'll have to correct me on this, but they look like glacial striations, but they've got like the layers of rock. Yeah, I mean, really excellent. And the Fraser River runs right through, and so it's quite an idyllic place, I would say. Yeah, if you're gonna take a Highway 91 or Highway 99 #geocache road trip, be sure to check out Lillooet.
Yeah, if you take the Highway 91 geocache road trip, you're not going to end up there.
Not at all. No, you'll hit not Peace Arch. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely check that place out. There's some excellent caching opportunities out there. I also headed out on an overnight hike to Wedgemont Lake, and Wedgemont Lake is in Garibaldi Provincial Park, and this fantastic park is located just east of Whistler, kind of actually between Squamish and Whistler to be more precise. But it's home to a vast swath of stunning hiking, varying from from easy to requiring climbing rope. And the Wedgemont Lake hike in particular is considered rather difficult. It's about 7 kilometers or 4.3 miles along uphill switchbacks and scree slopes. It's brutal, but the rewards are worth it when you're at the top. Wedgemont Lake is stunning. It's a stunning turquoise lake surrounded by mountains that effortlessly make your jaw drop. It's quite something. It's I mean, if you go up.
Oh, he froze. He got so excited about Wedgemont Lake.
Well, he's talking about the glaciers.
Oh, that's what happened. All right.
He's moving
so
the speed of a glacier.
So while we wait for Keats' network connection, there he is.
Oh, sorry.
We lost you for a moment.
You were
You're
just
back.
talking about your jaw dropping. You're just talking.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic area to check out. And actually, while you're up there, I spent a night in the hut up there, and with some people. It was very interesting. We're glad that we all got along so well because it was very tight sleeping quarters. But anyway,
it was awkward real fast. Yeah.
Exactly. I asked them if I snored, and they were like, "No, you're fine." And they were kind of like, they were kind of hesitant and with that answer. But anyway. Yeah, so I went up there, and I on the way back I thought, I'll check out this glacier that these folks were telling me about, and I walked along. It's about 30 minutes, and you get to Wedgemont Glacier, and it is a fantastic glacier to check out, and it was so fantastic that I decided I would hide a geocache there. I actually don't think it's been found yet. I haven't had any notifications about it. So
it's a physical cache, like a traditional.
Yeah, like a traditional. And actually, with in that same area, you'll see an earth cache as well that talks about glaciers and the rate of climate change. And I remember way back when I was the first time I went up to Wedgemont Lake, the glacier was considerably lower, and now it's receded quite a bit. So it's a sad sight to see, but it's very educational when you get up there and you read the earth cache and you see what happens. And glaciers do regenerate, depending on the rate of climate change or climate cooling, for example. So, yeah, it's a great place to check out. Bring adequate hiking boots. Make sure your hiking boots are nice and re-waterproofed and washed, because it's a very treacherous hike. But yeah, I mean, if you just take your time, and you'll get there. It's excellent.
There you go. So Wedgemont Glacier, Wedgemont Lake.
Yeah,
nice.
By the way, Kyle McClashin says yes, he does snore. Just saw that.
Oh, welcome to the chat, Kyle. Thank you.
So this may be a hashtag FDAS, but now I don't know why Kyle would know that.
Oh, we go camping. Yeah, bunch of friends. I apparently sound like a freight train, so
Keeps the bears away, I heard.
yeah. I just growl at the bear's back while I'm sleeping. It's great.
So Keats, you were telling us about going up to Lillooet. You've talked about Wedgemount Glacier. Any other spots that you want to mention?
Well, I went to visit my aunt and uncle on Pender Island, and there's some excellent geocaching opportunities out there. I'm telling you, like, you've got this. There's this one cacher out there that has populated about a good chunk of the island. His username is Birdseeker.
Yeah, those are those epic
cache, exactly. Yeah, you know them. Yeah, they're really good ones. So definitely worth checking that out. Lots of great beach access caches. So if you're into excellent viewpoints and seeing different little gems of Pender Island, then definitely check it out. And actually, I also hiked to the top of Golden Ears Mountain a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. It was cold.
Yeah.
I'm glad I brought my gloves. It was windy once I got to the top, and it was funny because I was getting up there, and we were passing some hikers on the way down. And there wasn't any wind whatsoever. But we were passing the hikers, and they were like, "Yeah, it's really windy up there." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Oh, sure. Surely you're joking." And then we got up there, and it's like gale force wind. So
I've had that as well when we did Frosty in.
Oh, I've heard great things about Frosty.
Yeah, it's an amazing hike. We went up there in September, I want to say, and we got an FTF on a cache up there, which was great. Had to cross a snowfield just before we summited, but it was the same kind of thing. It was nice through the trees, and then you get out of the trees and you're going across the large plateau before you go up onto the summit, and it's not windy, it's nice. And then as soon as you get up onto that summit, that wind is just kicking.
One of my coworkers accidentally found the geocache at the top up there. And she was like, "Oh, I found the geocache up there." And I was like, "Thank you for keeping it there."
Not bringing it home. What I found, Keats.
Look, somebody left a Tupperware from lunch. I'll bring it back home with me.
Yeah.
That is too funny.
Hey, we have a question in the chat. This one comes from GSM times 2 and wants to know hikes, backpacking. If backpacking, how many nights? Do you go backpacking, or are they just day hikes?
I do go for overnight hikes. So when I went up to Wedgemount Lake, I spent one night up there. The longest I've ever spent in the backcountry, like in the mountains, I spent 3 nights up at Garibaldi Lake, and also at Elfin Lakes in the same park in Garibaldi Provincial Park. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get more into the overnight packing. I want to try to do Stein Valley, which is kind of northeast of Garibaldi Park. That's definitely like a week-long excursion through some incredible backcountry terrain. I've been told you got to bring your bear spray. There are grizzly bears up there, so definitely a relief. Actually, it's funny because when I was going up to Wedgemount Lake, I was told, "Oh, geez, there are grizzly bears in Lillooet or in Whistler," and I was like, "Oh, okay, great. I should have brought bear spray. I did not bring bear spray with me." And so I get to the top, and I'm like, "Geez, this thing can go from 0 to the Revenant in no time."
That's not a good benchmark. Okay.
But one of the guys who I was camping with said, "Oh yeah, no, they're in the Callahan." So the whole time I was hiking up the mountain, I was like, "I better not see any gigantic bears or walking around the corner." But I'm okay with black bears. That's fine. It's just the grizzly bears, different kettle of fish. So, but
if you have a kettle of fish, you will definitely see the grizzly bear.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
Okay, 3ham also asks in the chat, why do both you and Kyle have a 94 in your geocaching handles?
We were both born in 1994. So that's I mean, I wish I could come up with a more creative answer, but that's the truth.
Well, it just shows 3ham's age. So we're okay with you. Yeah. We're okay with you, 3hams. You can be old.
That's right. All good.
Oh, it's a bad thing. So you've talked about a lot of different terrains, from glaciers to beaches to islands and all this stuff. How do you decide which high terrain cache that you're going to attempt next?
Well, it's a bit of a combination of let's take a look at the geocaching map and see what the geocaching map has to offer. And also, what resources do I have to get there?
So if you have a helicopter that day, you can.
Oh yeah, if I had $3,000 to pay the pilot for fuel, I would do it. But the thing is with that though is that you don't get the same experience when you're flying to the top of a mountain. You could have a picnic, no problem, and then fly back down. That's no problem. But when you're hiking to the top, it feels like you build a sense of accomplishment. And people talk about bagging peaks. Like going to the top of a mountain and saying, yeah. When you look up at that mountain again, you can say that you've done that. You've been there. You've experienced it. You've put one foot in front of the other and made it to the top. And I think that's what's great about hiking. And it's a very healthy thing too, of course. So, but yeah, I mean, I kind of look at the map. I'm like, okay, can I get there? And do I have crampons? Do I have snowshoes? And of which I do not have crampons. They next investment at some point. But yeah, I mean, I tend to just look at caches, around the North Shore Mountains, and I kind of look at the trail reports, and yeah, it's kind of that's how I kind of figure out which high terrain cache I'm going to go for.
All right. So it sounds like we're starting to get into a little bit about the planning, and that's what I think we want to talk about next. So once you've picked your destination, you've figured, okay, I've got the resources to get there, I believe, and it's a juicy green box, or whatever color it happens to be on the map. It's not a yellow smiley yet, so I'm going after it. What are the first steps you take in planning your hike, Keats?
Well, if it's a serious backcountry hike, like I said, I will look at the trail reports. I will check to see if the trail is closed, whether or not there are any washouts, or anything to be alarmed about, like grizzly bear warnings and all that kind of stuff. And I will also look at some of the caches in the area about the found it logs, people's experiences, any glow-worthy logs that I should be aware of. So yeah, that's kind of what I look at. And I also look at the roads as well, the road maps, to see how I can get there, and also if I can get there by public transit, because I always feel like I should take more advantage of public transit now that I have a car. Definitely is a luxury to have a car, and if I can take a bus to wherever I need to go, it's a good thing to do. So better for the environment that way.
That is true.
That is true. Are there many buses that lead you to trailheads of challenging hikes?
Well, I mean, for one, sorry?
I was just saying, the North Shore there are. You can get to a lot of the trailheads by bus.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. There's the 236 bus that leaves from Lonsdale Key, that goes up to Grouse Mountain, up to the base of Grouse Mountain, where you can do the famous grouse grind, nature's stairmaster, and some excellent hikes. There's also the 232, if I can remember that correctly, and yeah, that takes you to the same location from a different location near where the Second Narrows or the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge is, on the North Shore. And also, I mean, even in Maple Ridge, you can take the bus out. It's a bit of a walk further up. The buses don't go as frequently out there, but you can take the bus out to the base, or at least near Golden Ears Park. And I don't know, hitchhiking is illegal, but you could someone could probably offer to take a ride up there. Can give you a ride up there. But yeah, it's a long drive up to Golden Ears Park. Yeah, definitely, I would recommend having a car for that, for at least for that particular park. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, at least in the Lower Mainland, I'm sure, I imagine there might, I don't know for you guys in down below the border, if there are any buses that are there any buses that can take you to some cool spots?
I don't think we have any buses here in the U.S. that do anything good for us.
They take you to work.
Yeah, maybe.
Not even the what is it? The train. There's the Sounder. Remember hearing about the Sounder?
The Sounder will take you into Seattle. Yeah,
okay.
Take you into Seattle. There's no good hikes in Seattle.
Okay. You guys are pretty flat over there.
Yeah, well, no, Seattle has some serious hills, but it's not the wilderness you're looking
No.
for.
That's right.
Oh, there's wilderness and there's wildlife, but it's not the same type you're looking for. Now, you mentioned earlier that, when you're looking to plan a hike, you determine, do I have the gear that I need to do that? Um, it sounds like you have some specialized gear already. What is your quote unquote standard carry for one of these hikes?
Standard carry for me. Well, I'll start off with, I mean, kind of the essential thing, and I always think it's really good to have a first aid kit and a really well stocked first aid kit. That's something that you can kind of work on over time. I know that Survivor Man Les Stroud, he has a show on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's got a show on somewhere, and he talks about basically making sure that you have adequately stocked band-aids, that you know what is in that first aid kit. That's key, I think. And of course, a good jacket, hiking boots as well. I actually brought my Gore-Tex jacket, and it's got some sound to it. It's probably picking up some weird feedback on the microphone, but this is a 3-layer Gore-Tex jacket, and it does the trick. It's very breathable. It's very waterproof, and it actually has one of these hoods that kind of folds around. Let's see if I can figure this out. It can kind of it doesn't actually fall in front of your eyes because you can adjust it in the back here.
Yeah, I like that feature.
This is the MEC Synergy jacket. And MEC, for example, is the equivalent of REI in the United States. Actually, MEC started off with kind of REI's business plan. Yeah, what else do we have here? Like I said, a good hiking boots. I brought my hiking boots over here. Still gotta actually, I gotta wash them still, but this is the Mammut High Trovat GTX hiking boots, and it is suede. They also come in nubuck. Apparently, nubuck it's basically the inside out part of the leather, and you can actually re-waterproof this and wash it as well. I think it's really crucial to wash and re-waterproof hiking boots, every time that you get back from a hike. That's I think very important. What else do we have? Oh, and I mean, I tend to forget to bring these. These are my Synergy Gore-Tex pants. They do the trick as well. They're very breathable, very waterproof. They too are also 3-layer. 3-layer Gore-Tex, very durable as well. The Synergy jacket as well is pretty durable too. So definitely worth bringing those if it's raining. I find that's always good to have, but I tend to forget my hiking boots. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and of course the merino wool base layers. I didn't bring merino wool with me here, but I can show you a synthetic version. This is my MEC T2 synthetic shirt, very quick drying, very breathable, and merino wool has a very temperature regulating antimicrobial quality to it. The synthetic version is a bit more of a simpler model, simpler material, still keeps you warm, but it won't necessarily be antimicrobial. So it may show some odor over time, depending on how often it's worn.
Just going to jump in for a sec. So a lot of mention of MEC products. So full disclosure, where is it that you work?
I work at Mountain Equipment Co-op, also known as MEC. In
Vancouver, now I get it. Yeah.
So, I'm going to throw in there though that I buy a lot of my stuff. I don't work for MEC, but I buy a lot of my stuff there as well because they do carry good quality product, and a lot of the stuff that you're sharing is really excellent quality product. So just full disclosure,
I don't mean to accidentally advertise for MEC. I will say there are some excellent brands out there as well that are not just MEC. Outdoor Research as well, worth checking out. Mammut, we're actually at our store, we're bringing in a lot of Mammut jackets, so not just hiking boots, jackets. And what else do we have? We have, I mean, La Sportiva, they have some excellent mountaineering boots. They have some excellent shirts as well, meant for climbing usually. They tend to be more climbing oriented. They've got some excellent climbing shoes if you're into you're into rock climbing as well. So definitely, yeah, like I'm definitely going overboard with the MEC stuff, but you know, we Mounted Equipment Co-op, we also sell some other excellent brands, Patagonia as well. Yeah. But it is also called Patagucci for a reason.
Nice. All right. Yeah. So I interrupted you. You were talking about your merino wool, which again, I've been an advocate for merino wool as a base layer for as long as I've known about it. Yeah, it's going to cost you a bit more, but you will be thankful you made the investment. So yeah, so you're talking about that, and you're moving up to the mid layers.
Mid layers, yeah. The mid layers consist. I don't know if I brought my mid layer. Anyway, the mid layers are pretty good. The two primary mid layers that we have at Mounted Equipment Co-op are fleece and insulated jackets. So I tend to like fleece in the sense that it is quite breathable. It's also quick drying. Most of the fleece that we have at MEC is synthetic. So when you're in the mountains, when you're in humid environments, that thing's going to dry quickly when it clears up. And obviously, I highly recommend wearing a rain jacket over top of any mid layer. Of course, that's a given if it's raining. But I actually have been very impressed with, even being in the rain with the fleece, how quickly it dries over time. But still don't recommend that. And then the other material that we have is, or the type of jacket we have is insulated jackets. So kind of like the puffy ones that you see, those ones. We have the MEC uplink jacket. I'll start with that one. The MEC uplink jacket is fantastic. It is a very lightweight, relatively breathable, wind resistant, rather I would say pretty warm insulated jacket. And what is fantastic about the uplink jacket is that it folds into its breast pocket. So you basically turn it inside out, and it becomes this little pillow thing. You can even use it as a pillow, you know, for when you're camping. And it's very compact and light, and it's not only lightweight to pack in a backpack, but it just feels so lightweight on your body, and it's an excellent invention from MEC. And the insulation that actually is put into the uplink jacket is a type of Primaloft insulation. Primaloft is a very quick drying type of insulation that is also, much like merino wool, stays warm when it's dry, or sorry, when it's wet. I mean, it's not great when it's saturated with water, but it definitely has its, you know, it has its perks with keeping warm when it's wet. So definitely designed for humid environments, like in the Northwest. So yeah, we also have some Patagonia down jackets as well. If you're hiking into drier climates, down works really well. Down does tend to soak up moisture a little more, so be careful about that. But still, you know, if you're hiking around Winnipeg, for example, which, you know, it's not many uphill mountains around there, or not many uphill hikes, but definitely bring that, because it's a drier climate, as well as, yeah, any type of interior hiking, down should be fine. That's totally fine. And some of the jackets that we sell at MEC, we have the Patagonia down sweater, and we also have some brand new Rab, the brand called Rab, and we have their insulated jackets. Quite expensive, but definitely they've got a very waterproof nylon kind of shell around it, so it does protect the down to a certain extent in humid conditions. So yeah.
There you go. So now you're calling this a mid layer, and so we've talked about a base layer and mid layer. It implies that there may be one more layer.
Base layer.
So we started with the base layer. We talked about the merino, and then now you're just talking about the mid layer.
And the outer layer, the rain jacket, of course. So yes, the rain jackets that we have at MEC, like I showed you with the Synergy jacket, very durable, very breathable. We also have more of a lower price point models like the MEC hydrofoil jacket. Those jackets are very waterproof. They don't have as much breathability, but we did release a new jacket called the hydrofoil stretch jacket. The hydrofoil stretch jacket is a little more breathable. It's got like 15,000 breathability units to it. And it is about the same level of, almost, I think around the same level of waterproofness. So MEC realized that the older hydrofoil jacket was very similar to the Aquanator jacket, which is another one that we sell. So we thought we would differentiate and change the material up a little bit. So we still sell the Aquanator, which is still a very waterproof but not exactly breathable jacket. But the MEC hydrofoil stretch jacket is something that is more geared for the day hiker, the people that want to pack away a jacket in case it rains. That definitely is different from something like a Gore-Tex jacket, which is meant to be out in the rain for long periods of time. Great for folks actually who are in the movie industry, who are standing out on sets for long periods of time too. So we also sell outdoor research jackets. What are we selling now? We're selling the Alpine Go jacket, the women's Alpine Go jacket. That has 28,000 breathability. The Alpine Go jacket is also an MEC jacket. It's got 28,000 breathability units, like I said. It has a lower breathability rate on it than the MEC Gore-Tex Synergy. Both of these jackets are Gore-Tex, by the way. The Alpine Go and the Synergy. And we have that in the men's version that's called the Tonquin jacket. Same material, same waterproof rating and breathability. Excellent packable jacket. Both of these jackets, the women's and the men's of these types, are 2.5 layer Gore-Tex. So it's very like I said, very packable. Just not going to be necessarily as breathable as something like a 3-layer. But we are all different kinds of hikers, and we all sweat differently. Right. So it does come down to the individual. Sometimes it's fine when you're wearing like the hydrofoil stretch jacket or even the Aquanator. Some people just don't sweat that as much, but some folks like myself need the breathability.
Okay, so it sounds like there's when you're looking at the outer layers, there's a lot of different factors that need to go in. You can't just go and grab, or you can, but you maybe shouldn't just grab the first jacket off the shelf and use that. So it's good to go into a place where you can talk with someone like yourself who really knows what they're talking about, and you can get some more info and then figure out the right outer layer. Now, earlier you showed us your boot, and you talked a little bit about that, and I think that was the last thing you wanted to talk about here. When we're going through equipment here, is just give us more insight. Maybe just quickly, because we don't want to run the show too long, but about boots.
Yeah, so the boots. This is, for example, this is the Mammut iTrovat hiking, the Gore-Tex boot. One of the things I would recommend for boot care, definitely drop into MEC and schedule a boot fitting appointment where a friendly staff member will help you find the right boot. Definitely, if you don't know what you're really looking for in a boot, you'll be asked some questions, and they'll be able to sort you out and hook you up with an excellent pair of hiking boots. So these are considered backpacking boots. There are day packing boot or day hiking boots, as well as some mountaineering boots. Mountaineering boots are quite pricey, but if you're going way up into like summiting Mount Everest, having a good La Sportiva mountaineering boot, definitely worth it. So, and also make sure you like I said, wash and re-waterproof, because these things will last much longer with that in mind.
Cool.
Yeah, you need to re-waterproof your boots on a regular basis. There's nothing worse than going out and having wet feet in a hike.
Yeah. Well, buying a brand new pair of boots and just running around on the trail should be fine too, I think.
It minimizes the squelchy feeling. I always feel like there's like a squelchy feeling that you get when your feet are wet and it makes that weird sound. I don't like that.
No.
Questions from the chat for you real quick. Do you carry any emergency location device like a spot or an inReach? That was geocaching with GSMX2.
Myself, I don't carry one. I probably should. I will probably invest in an InReach, Garmin InReach GPS, where you can actually remotely send texts via satellite. Definitely worth the investment if you're going into those dangerous hikes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hiking up a snowy hill that might have an avalanche, always have a spot beacon. I have yet to experience that. So, but when I go up into avalanche country, it's good to have a spot beacon for sure.
Yeah. Chris from Landshark says he got his ham radio license for emergency communications and carries a handheld radio. I've got one here, similar.
Oh, nice.
And those are good. GSMX2 says he's tried that. Sometimes he's found people don't always monitor the frequencies, but Chris also follows up with that you can, if you can hit a repeater in range, usually somebody's near a repeater, even if they're not in your local area, they can call for help. So radios are great. InReach, the spots, those are all great tools. And I think we've talked about some of those in the past on different episodes.
We have. And I mean, there's just so much to talk about when it's, preparing to go out and get back home safe. And just Keats mentioned earlier, one of his essentials that he carries is first aid kit. And a reminder to folks that we'll talk about a little later, but in a very soon upcoming episode, Dr. Alex is back on to talk to us. That's Medicine Man of Seattle, about field first aid. So we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, Keats, question for you. Have you ever encountered a situation where you thought to yourself, oh, I really should have brought fill in blank, or what would that blank be?
Well, I have to say gloves. I mean, gloves. I always forget gloves, and I always forget extra socks, and it just is a nightmare when your hands are cold and you're trying to toggle the button on your GPS, and it's like I can't move my hand. Like this is not great. And second stage frostbite sets in, and you're like, okay, well, I should probably put my hands in my pockets now. So. Anyway, yeah, I definitely would recommend bringing extra socks and gloves. Just do it. Like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it.
Yep.
So good base layer, good simple basics. Are there things you'd change up depending on which hike you've got going?
I mean, that would be with me looking at what type of hike it is. I mean, I would probably bring snowshoes if I know that there's snow up there. I would probably bring crampons if I know that I somehow will be crossing a glacier. I don't have that experience yet crossing glaciers, but if I do, I will definitely have to bring crampons. Mountaineering boots as well, same kind of deal. Having a good backpack, a good sized backpack as well will help with food. Always stock food. I mean, it's so crucial. And another thing I should mention as well, there's this electrolyte replacement stuff. When you're going on hardcore hikes, it's always good to have electrolyte replacement pills, I guess. But they dissolve in water, and they basically replenish your electrolytes and prevent you from, well, I guess, damaging your kidneys over time when you're excreting all this salt through sweat. So that's definitely something that I would bring on something like my Wedgemont Lake hike, for example. Very, very, very crucial in my opinion. And especially for like long overnight hikes too, like several days. So
there you go.
Nice. Now, on this show, we have talked, I don't know how many times, about the 10 essentials when planning a hike. Of those 10, what would you say are the most crucial elements, or should someone just always have all 10 with them?
Well, I mean, certainly bringing all the 10 essentials is great. And I mean, what I would probably say is key is a good jacket. A very good, well-stocked first aid kit. Kind of just, I mean, good hydration as well. Having a a backpack water bladder really helps.
Mhm.
And I actually find that having a backpack water bladder helps because there's a straw that comes out and you can fit it. Usually most day packs will have a little hole that you can fit the straw through, and so as you're hiking, you can just drink out of the water bladder and through the straw as you're hiking, rather than having to take off your backpack, finding your water bottle at the bottom of your backpack, and having to drink from there. But it is always also good to bring a water bottle with you as well as a backup, for sure.
One of the things that's actually really good about the water bladder approach, and I recently did a bunch of research on hydration and wrote a blog article about it, is that you're actually way better served to sip water on a regular basis rather than chug water at longer intervals. It actually is much better for your body. So something to keep in mind. 3Ms is giving me a hard time in the chat because the first time I did a cardinal sin. I used new equipment on a tough hike without testing it out at home first, and I did not realize that there was a valve on my my water straw out of my camel pack, and I could not get the water. I'm like turning blue in the face, and then I realized there was a switch on there, or somebody pointed it out to me, and all of a sudden the water flowed much easier. So
Nice.
it's one of those things, right? You can carry the 10 essentials, but know how to use the stuff you're carrying. Another one that Henry in the chat threw out, it's a very simple one, but this time of year, bring a toque.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%. I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah. Absolutely.
You lose a lot of body heat through your head.
Yeah. And Keats, you didn't quite get to it yet, but one of the other items you had in your notes, and I'll just share it because it's so important, is the most important thing you can do prior to a hike is let someone know where you're going and when you'll be back. And call it a trip plan, whatever you want to call it. And, we love the guys at Adventure Smart and all the work they do in communicating that out. So that whole concept is essential as well.
Yeah. Search and rescue people are awesome, but we want them to be bored all season.
God. Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep hanging out at the station and I mean, I guess most of the folks on the north of the 49th parallel are volunteer, so let them have free time.
Yes.
Let them hang out with their families.
Let them go hiking. Yeah,
exactly.
So another thing that we wanted to ask you about, Keats, while you're here, with the weather changing, so we were kind of already leading into this, what should hikers be considering to change about their equipment or their planning that they're doing?
I would bring a thicker mid layer, as well as a more robust base layer. It's kind of a tough balance between sweating buckets and freezing like a popsicle. So you can control the mid layer. So make sure you pack a warmer fleece or insulated jacket. One of the things that I find that actually is great with the MEC uplink jacket is that in case it gets really cold, because it is so compact, you can bring a thick fleece and still pack the MEC uplink jacket in case it gets really cold. So that's another good thing with these really packable insulated mid-layered jackets. Like I said, maybe make sure that depending on how humid it is or lack thereof, think about bringing a down mid-layered jacket, because down is great in really cold conditions. So definitely think about bringing that. And
There you go. And I'm just going to throw in that I love you guys over in the chat. You're so on top of it. They're basically running through all the other 10 essentials in the chat right for
excellent
us, which is fantastic. So headlamp, a light source is one of the 10 essentials you should have. Extra batteries for your GPSR and or your smartphone. All these things are definitely things you should have in there. And 3Hams threw in one of my favorites. It's not quite a 10 essential. I'll call it the 11th essential. It's a hip flask of rum. But
it's the 11th essential.
But no, absolutely. GSM times 2 said, what's a toque? I think you guys call them beanies, but
beanies.
So we call certain beanies at Mount Equipment Co-op certain toques beanies, depending on the insulation.
I just grew up calling them a stocking cap or something.
There you go.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it depends
excellent,
on where
excellent.
you're from.
You guys in the chat are awesome. You obviously you've heard us once or twice talk about the 10 essentials, or you know about it yourself anyway. So that's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, it makes me feel good because safety is of the utmost concern. So I'm so glad to see you guys, telling us what to pack for the hike with the 10 essentials. That means we're actually communicating. So
Yeah. Huge thanks goes to those in the chat. That's really crucial. I can't believe I forgot the headlamp. Yeah, the headlamp is so crucial, and having a good high lumen headlamp as well is really, like 350 lumens is really bright. But yeah, definitely.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thank
now-
you all.
yeah, a good heavy flashlight is also good. I've got 1,000 lumen LED light, but that's not going to last as long, or it's not as convenient as the headlamps. So you've got to hold it in your hand. But it's good to beat a bear over the head if you happen to come across one.
There you go.
Just not a grizzly. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, doesn't matter. Or beat your hiking buddy over the head so you can run faster than he can.
Don't be like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant and having to fight that grizzly.
Man. Now, Keats, you've done a great job at laying out how to dress for changing conditions, especially now with the seasons and things can change quickly.
Yeah.
Are you going to take that equipment and go on any upcoming hikes?
I think I might, once the snow happens, probably head out to the North Shore Mountains and do a bit of hiking and snowshoeing out there for a bit, and maybe head out to Bowen Island for a hashtag maintenance of geocaches. Hashtag geocache maintenance. Definitely importantly, I've got about 5 or 6 caches out there, so I've got to check on those and maybe head up the Sunshine Coast and do some hiking around there. And I'm looking forward to some new hiking opportunities in wintertime. It's always so cool seeing the seasons change and seeing the snow dust the mountains, and kind of creates a very cool effect, actually, I have to say. So
There you go.
Nice. 3Ham says you can also use that big heavy flashlight to beat your snoring hiking buddy into silence.
And
Wow.
Brian, no need to nuke those caches. They're still there. They're on Bowen Island. They're fine. They're all good.
Awesome. All right. Well, Keats, thank you so much. It was great to have you on here. We're going to wrap up this part of the show here. There was a ton of information. Clearly, if you want to go into Mountain Equipment Co-op when Keats is working and get him to really dig into what products and stuff to buy to make sure you're properly equipped, he'll be happy to help you. But whether it's REI, Mountain Equipment Co-op, Mountain Warehouse, wherever you go to get your kit, I think a lot of the stuff, Keats, that you shared with us is really valuable information that we need to be thinking about when we prep ourselves to get out and go hiking in the mountains. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, most importantly, trip plan. But that all said, Keats, thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad to be back on the show. It's an awesome privilege to have.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
And thank you guys for tuning in, because if you don't listen, there's no reason for us to do a show. Yeah, we'd probably still do it anyway.
We'd probably do it anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we did it with only one listener, so we'll keep going now that we have 2 or 3. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget, there's going to be more next week. As Land Monkey said, we are going to be talking about performing field first aid with Dr. Alex. That's Medicine Man of Seattle. October 25th is Trackable Promotions with Geocaching HQ and the Ad Council. We're going to talk with Katie.
Nice. We got some great shows coming up. And then we had, can you believe it? We're already into November after that. Episode 275 is November 1st. We're going to talk about GeoCoin Fest and GeoCoin Insights with Christian Mackey and JP. And on the 8th, the Olympic Geo Tour. No, that's different. This is the Olympic Parks.
It's like 5 rings of geocache.
Yeah.
Nice.
Something like that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So we got some great shows, and then there's even more great shows lined up after that. So if you've enjoyed this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you follow us and like us, and tell all your friends to listen to the podcast, because it's more fun the more people there are in the chat goofing off and sharing ideas and just having a good time in there. You guys are awesome. But before we go any further, I want to take a moment to thank Landsharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online or go in person and visit their store in Victoria, BC. Keats doesn't work there.
That's
But
right.
If I ever move to Esquimalt, expect to see my resume.
there you go. Awesome. So thank you for your sponsorship, Landsharks, once again. And of course, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Bounce Bounce, Team Squirrel, Limax, and WorldCaching.com. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link over on the CachingNW.com website. And our shout out to all of our patrons through Patreon. Broncos Fan for Life, Sprouter, Camp Clan, Tick Magnet, Kev MacD, Subway Mark, Doramore, Dune Buddy, Kid Vegas 19, Geo Nav Pros, Wino Seattle, Acrodoc, Billy Robson, Gene Ice, and Teus, Keats 94, Trexer 0, MC, 3 Cats, and Kennel Barb. Thank you very much.
Well done, sir.
Well done in one
Yeah,
breath.
that was impressive.
And Keats, yes, I will also throw in my thank you once again. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how would you like them to reach you?
Well, you can always reach me at Instagram at Keats Morton. It's my full name. I might change that pretty soon, but anyway, yeah, that's kind of my main go-to for easy to contact stuff. You can also reach me, I guess, on Twitter, also at Keats Morton. I'm not that active on Twitter, but check me out and add me on Facebook if you want, and be sure to like Keats 94's geocaching adventures, and expect to see 2 more YouTube videos. They're currently in the editing stage, one of Lillooet and one of Wedgemont Lake. So
Sounds great. You can see all the things we talked about in living color.
Indeed.
Land Monkey, how about you?
Well, if you hadn't heard it before, you're going to hear it now. You can find us on YouTube, where we've been putting season 1, which is our Baltic adventure videos, up. We had a new one that just released this week, which is our interesting adventure around Finland. What to do when Trump and Putin screw up your geocaching plans. Well, if you're ever wondering what to do, we've got all that advice on YouTube. So yeah, check us out, LANMONKEY on YouTube. Otherwise, check us out. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at LandMonkeyGC. We're posting stuff all the time because we're never home. We're always doing an adventure. I come home to do this podcast, and then I go on another geocaching adventure. That's basically the way it works.
I think that's pretty much true.
And our blog at landmonkey.blogspot.ca or adventuregeocaching.com. Wits End, my friend. How do people find out about Shoeplotler?
Geocaching.com. You can find me at Wits End, and I can talk about Shoeplotler there. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. Not Google Plus. I closed that account this week after some news. Other things.
Don't worry, Google Plus is closing. So
yeah, that's why I closed it. There were some stories online about if you have a Google Plus account, you should go close it. And I thought, you know what? I never use it. So I went and closed it. So don't try to contact me there. Stick with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, those kind of things. Chris, how about you?
Is that why you haven't been responding to any of my messages?
Oh, what?
All the ones you send on Google Plus.
Yeah. For years, I've been waiting for him to respond. Hey, you know what? You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at CachingNW. Those are where I'm the most active. Or head on over to CachingNW.com/hosts, read our bios, and find all those links we just mentioned, and including the ones that shouldn't be there anymore from Google Plus. I think I'm going to go take those off tonight.
Oh, yeah. Take that in too. So for all of you, thank you for taking your time, taking your valuable time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Why don't you want to be, come be part of our show, and maybe you can read this closing way better than I do.
Isn't it great to be on a live podcast?
Give us a call, 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment. Ask us a question. Give us a piggyback ride to the summit. Loan us your merino wool. No, don't do that. You can do that anytime, day or night. And you can always email feedback@cachingnw.com. We got an email from Tick Magnet just this week. Your support helps keep quality shows coming, and someday might help me learn to read better. If you like this show, click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, any of your favorite podcast applications. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Jay Kennedy and hosted by Chris J. and Jim Politz. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2018 by Chris Umfenauer. Now, hang out and chat with us for a little while.
The after show.
In that thing.
That was an awkward lead in that time.
I was waiting to see what would happen if I didn't intro it. It comes anyway.
The after show.
That will just never ever go away, I think.
There you go. Oh, we got a few.
Do you need to re-record that one day?
Okay.
So why don't we handle the hashtag FATASs from the chat? We've got a few that have gotten dropped in here, which is fantastic. And once those are over, if we've still got some time, I'm going to ask my question.
Okay. Well, let's start with the first one from Trexer. It says, FATAS, 3 Where I Go finds after last week's episode.
Nice.
So,
Wow.
congratulations.
Cool.
Awesome. So hopefully you were inspired to go find some worgs.
Worgs?
Thanks.
Wigs.
Where Len Monkey goes.
Where Len Monkey goes. Now, Starcasher, who I'm claiming is the research department for this episode, because he says, from the internet, parasitic wasps help farmers and gardeners by naturally controlling crops by killing those insects that are harmful to the crops. By doing so, these beneficial insects help reduce the insect pest populations and thereby help growers improve their field and garden produce. Benefit of wasps. As a group, wasps provide extraordinarily important ecological services, including pollination, predation,
Predation.
predation
For
predators. Yeah. And I've never seen these combinations of letters. Parasitum
Parasitism.
and, killing parasites. Simply put, without wasps, we'd be overrun with insect pests and we would have no figs. And sadly, no fig Newtons for Cookie Monster. I threw in the Cookie Monster bit.
Speaking of pronunciations, I looked up gelada while we were on the show. It's apparently, I saw 2 pronunciations listed online, both with the soft G, as gelada or gelada.
Which I always thought was a Italian ice cream. So
Yeah, well, I would rather eat that.
than a monkey.
Chilled monkey brains. We've seen it in Indiana Jones.
Oh, so it must be true.
It's
Yeah.
It's
I saw it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Too funny.
Well, we all thought that, most of us thought that wasps must serve some useful purpose, but I still don't like them.
No, doesn't mean
I
you
like
have to
them.
like them.
I like them just fine out somewhere else doing all that pollination, predation, and all that
Let
stuff.
them kill pests all day long.
Yes.
Leave me alone.
Yes. How about that?
I'm not a pest. Wow.
Sometimes Stu says, personally, I'd give up fig Newtons if we could get rid of wasps.
Seems like a fair trade to me. Hey, Keats, we've got a hashtag FATAS from Brylang. He's asking if you have clothing suggestions for cold weather kayaking.
Well, I mean, kayaking clothing is not my expertise, but I would definitely say having a nice thick merino wool base layer, like the MEC T3, can work pretty well as an initial base layer. But when you're kayaking, you're gonna want to have some nice quick drying stuff. So even more of a synthetic T3, MEC T3, which is the thickest type of insulation for a base layer, definitely worth it. And then also having like a quick drying fleece. I mean, as long as you don't capsize too much,
Too much.
Be,
Like one
you should
time.
be good.
Mr. Landsharks, Chris Headley in the chat is throwing out dry suit, which is probably a really good suggestion. Because
Definitely.
a certain amount of mobility. And the big thing I would say is paddling gloves.
Yeah, neoprene is really good for that for sure.
So there you go. There's some stuff. So I think that's all our hashtag FATAS. So now I can throw my question in.
If you're just starting out, are they Padawan paddling gloves?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So my hashtag, I got to do the fingers thing. Because if you're listening, you really are missing out on me doing the hashtag.
Well, yeah.
All right. Hashtag Fatas. Wits End. What
Hmm.
were you up to last weekend?
Well, it's Oktoberfest.
And
So I was at Oktoberfest all weekend.
what were you doing at Oktoberfest?
War Schuhplattler, of course. Ich bin ein Tanzer. Ich tanze Schuhplattler.
There you go. So if anybody is listening to this podcast and they haven't heard us talk about Schuhplattler before, what is Schuhplattler?
Schuhplattler is a dance from Germany. Literally translated, it's shoe slapping. And it involves a lot of slapping of the lederhosen, slapping of the shoes. And it's all like a lot of things in history. It's, the guys do it to impress the ladies, don't you know? So
Did you impress some ladies?
Well, I always hope so. Let me see. Here's one that I don't know. I can share a video for real quick.
There you go. So if you're watching live, you get to see Wits End doing Schuhplattler.
This was one piece.
So let's see, what is there? Are there 5 couples there?
This one there was, yeah. There.
We should really let Jim talk because otherwise we take over the videos.
So there's a little taste anyway.
There you go. So if you're just listening to this on audio, you've downloaded, you really got to go onto YouTube and just watch the last end of this. But Jim, if people wanted to see more of Schuhplattler, is there a website they could go to?
Oh, there's tons of websites. Here, let me show you one more clip real quick. My dance group is based in Seattle. It's Enzian Schuhplattler. Enzian is a small blue alpine flower, much like everybody knows the Edelweiss is the white flower from Sound of Music. Enzian is a blue flower. So Enzian Schuhplattler. You can most easily find it by looking at it's Enzian Seattle on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
There you go.
And there's links there to the website and everything else.
Such, yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of photos there. Here's a different piece that we did this. I am on the coming up on the far right of your screen there. This is always a real popular piece there. I could play the music, but we call it the flying dance because the ladies fly here.
Wow.
Lots of coordination there.
So it's a heck of a lot of fun. It's the only aerobic workout I get every week, and some great people, and there's beer.
And it's kind of now, is this really sort of the busy season for you guys?
It is. The two biggest seasons are spring and fall. We do lots of Mayfest in the spring, and lots of Oktoberfest. We did the club did Olympia German Club Oktoberfest. I was working the fair at that time. They did the Austria Club in Seattle. And then we went to Portland, Oregon and danced in the Widmer Brothers Oktoberfest down there. Then this weekend was Puyallup. This coming weekend, I'll be up in Seattle again at the East Side German Language School, Saga, Seattle German Academy, Oktoberfest. And a week from Saturday, the club will be up at Leavenworth on the 20th.
There you go.
Sadly, I won't make that trip. I have to work.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Do you get to dance at the Mariners again this year?
We didn't do the Mariners this year. They hired a great band that we're good friends with, Happy Hans. They decided to go with a band instead of a dance performance. So we went to Portland instead and did that Oktoberfest.
You didn't do the Mariners, but you did Microsoft this year, didn't you?
We also, we did a Microsoft. I forgot that. That was a weeknight. We did a Microsoft company party, Oktoberfest party for that. So yeah, it's a busy time of year.
That's awesome.
But it's a lot of fun.
GSM times 2 in the chat says, "Oh yes, the chicks must go crazy over that."
Oh yeah.
In fact, you swept them right off their feet
Of course.
with the flying dance.
That's fantastic. So
I
yeah,
did a couple of pieces this weekend that were brand new to me. The dances were new. It's the first time that I had performed them. So they went well. Nobody died. That's always,
that's always a good benchmark.
I try to set that bar real low like that.
That's awesome. Well, I think that It takes us to 10:15. It's been a long episode, but a lot of information. We
But
should probably
good, yeah, a good informative episode.
Jim, thank you so much for sharing about the shoe flatler at the end of the after show. I was just dying to see some of that video and hear you share about it. I just think it's so cool. I really love the fact
It's a lot of fun. You should try it sometime. And there is one of our clubs in our West Coast district is in Vancouver. There's a Vancouver dance club. So one of these days we're going to go up there and visit them, and I'll be sure to let you guys know.
fantastic.
Nice. Hey, folks,
Very cool.
thank you so much for sticking with us through.
The after show.
And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.